my daughter gave me I think it was last year, Christmas present or birthday present, some kind of present she gave me, a book on writing your memoirs. And this book had little, what do you call it, things to do, exercises to do. And one of the exercises was to think back to your earliest memory that just vividly as a child that stands out of something dramatic that happened. And and then you had to draw a map of it all, and
wasn't it about in your neighborhood?
Right, in your neighborhood and so forth, and so kind of jogging your memory. And so I started thinking back, and I think the first thing that came to me was when my dad. The earliest memories I have of my dad was a great basketball player, and so early on I learned to play basketball. Now, my dad became sick, and then then I really had not a lot to do with him. But before that, we played basketball together. So when I was in the 4th grade, normally in elementary school, the 5th and 6th graders only made the basketball team. But I made the basketball team in the 4th grade and made first string because my dad, that was before he got sick, and he was coaching me and everything, and got to be pretty good. And then I won most valuable player. And in the 6th grade, there was another guy he and I tied for most valuable player, and there was a lot of competitive spirit going on there. And the last day of school, he came up to me, and he wanted to fight. And my dad had taught me. Now, my dad never went to church. My dad, didn't follow the Lord, but my dad had taught me a principle that he had learned from his mother, my praying grandmother, and that was, son, somebody hit you, you turn the other cheek. And so here I was, a little 6th grade kid, and this guy comes and said, come on, let's fight. And I said, no, I'm not going to fight you. He said, oh, you're chicken, and everybody started gathering around. And so he hits me and knocks me down. And I get up off the ground, and I go. I turn my other cheek, and so he hits me again, knocks me down. And I get up, and I turn my other cheek, and they all laugh, and they walk away. I went home, and I was scared to death. Oh, man, I got this kind of bruise on my cheek and everything, and what's Dad going to think? What are they going to say? And I get home, and maybe the only time I can remember. Now he may have said it more than this, but the time that I remember him saying, "Son, I am so proud of you," was that day when I came home and I turned my other cheek.
Wow.
And so it was kind of interesting as I went back into my memories and started stirring up something like that. It was a biblical principle that came out of really that had been passed down to him from his mother, and passed on to me, and so I never forgot that. And I think that I think probably memories are made with our children, especially about the things that are so important to them. We think, oh, hey, we're going to make a memory. We have something that is really neat to us, but to them, something that is in their world, and that's where memories are left. And you think about Jesus. I mean, we remember him because of what he did for us. And
there's a written record too of what he did. How many times did we plan great birthday parties? We would do things. Think, boy. And then they may never remember their 3-year-old birthday party. Shirley was awesome at planning birthdays, and that again is where the cameras can come back, pictures can come back for them to be reminded. I just think that it's just so important in the context of family that we realize that our lives are as Christian families are to be so much more than just one-dimensional. That it's not. All of our lives are to be about the Lord, but we're not going to be talking about Jesus every minute of every day with a 3-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 12-year-old. And to somehow be able to enter their world and invite them into our world, and in the context of that, the joy of the Lord is known, and we're able to freely talk about him and pray, but it doesn't have to be that we're working real hard at
And one thing I found too with our kids, and of course we're kind of way past that time now, but one of the things the Lord put in my heart was that to discipline them, I could discipline them as much as I needed to without producing rebellion if I had spent time with them. If I hadn't spent time with them and I had to discipline them, then they would get all...
Say that again, Sammy, because that's real important, that principle.
Love, we discipline in love, and love means that you've shown care, you've had the time. And I could discipline my kids without producing rebellion in them if I had spent time with them. But if I had not spent time with them when I disciplined them, then, I could tell a rebellious spirit would rise up in them. And it was because they didn't feel like I was doing it out of love, that I didn't care about them.
And you'd spent time doing what they wanted to do,
Right.
too.
And I
like playing dolls with Renee. Playing basketball with Dave was easy, but playing dolls with Renee was a little bit stretched.
It was. It was hard. Of course, you have 2 girls, and
Yeah.
and for me, our daughter came second. Your daughters came first, but that was harder for me because I had to get out of my comfort zone to do something with her.
Can y'all ever remember something that you really planned, that you thought, this is going to be, I want them to remember this, and you worked hard at it, and then you came away from it, and 5-10 years later they remembered it?
I think I can. I think that they'll laugh about some of the maybe. We have Christmas Eve. We've tried Christmas Eve all kind of different ways to have significance with our kids, and we have one video where Evan. I think that his activity in our Christmas Eve, we did a candlelight Christmas Eve service as a family. So Abby had learned from school reams of scripture, so she quotes, all of Luke chapter 2. And Katie dances around and sings something, and then Evan, I think his whole part in the Christmas Eve program was to blow out our candles at the end of our service, and he burned himself in the middle of it. And the kids watch this video, and they're just like, oh, Mom. That's just so, I don't know what would be their word that they would use.
I don't know.
And they say that was a little too strict, of trying to implant into them the truth of the Lord. But they still remember it. And to me, I do believe as a mom, there is that joy to get to think of things to do that will have significance in your kids' lives. Now, sometimes I think I let the pressure of everybody else's ideas make me want to think I want this just perfect, and I want them all to look just perfect and stuff, and I got a little too uptight in the doing of it. But the places where we can say, this is significant, this is a significant day in your life, because it's your birthday, or because it's a holiday, that's neat to do.
People who know us know that we're not very traditional people. We didn't really, we're maybe Tex is, but pretty non-traditional. And by that I mean, we just more spontaneous and.
You're more spontaneous, but we joined the party.
Hon.
We joined the party. I love it.
But the interesting thing is our kids love traditions, and they like to have traditional things, and by traditions it may not be something that everybody else does, but they want to establish traditions, and they let us know that pretty early on. We like traditions. One of the traditions we have is every year right before Christmas we go to Louisiana, and we've got grandkids now. I mean, it used to be just the 4 of us. Now we got I don't know how many of us, 9 of us going to Louisiana, and we pack up every year.
To see our family.
Yeah, to see Texas family, my family, who live back in Louisiana. And they don't want to miss that. That's been, I mean, we've been doing that for 20-something years.